Hi Upper Primary and welcome to day 3 of our BISW choreography competition. Let's recap what we've done so far before we move on. So on Monday we started a brand new challenge, which of course was our choreography competition. And yesterday we looked at levels and incorporated them into our dance. So we should now have 32 counts of the dance, which have levels of low, medium and high included. It was 60 more counts. So for day 3, we are going to look at 2 new dance words to include in our movement. They are shape and scale. So have a think, move away from the screen now and experiment. What is the craziest shape you can make with your body right now? Have a go. Excellent. All right. So let's find out a little bit more about shape within dance. You learn about all different types of shapes in math, whether they be circles, squares, triangles, and loads more. Our bodies can make hundreds of shapes literally by moving all our different body parts, and they can be simultaneously, which is all together, or isolated, which would mean to choose one body part and move that on its own. Shape in dance is simply the way the dancer looks to the audience, and every single move we make creates a shape. Even if we are stood doing nothing, we are still in a shape, kind of like a silhouette. It is your turn now to experiment making some shapes. So move away from the screen and make sure you have lots of space around. Can you make a straight shape with your entire body? How can you look straight to the audience? All right, moving on. Can you make a curved shape with only an arm? Okay. What about an angular shape? So think about angles that you do in maths with your legs and feet. So create some angles with those legs and feet. Perfect. How could you make a twisted shape at a low level? So incorporating the work we did yesterday, create a twisted shape at a low level. Great. And can you make a symmetrical shape? Do you remember what symmetrical means? For those of you that need a recap, symmetrical is a shape where if we cut ourselves in half right the way through from top to bottom, it would look the same on both sides. So a symmetrical shape I could make right now from what you can see of me might be this move. And then if you cut me in half, it's the same on both sides. So can you try making a symmetrical shape? Perfect. Now, our second word we were going to look at was scale. So looking at our picture on the left there, just think for a moment, how would you compare the size of a mouse to the size of an elephant? Okay, well, scale is another term for size, and it simply refers to how big or small we make our movements. In dance, we might choose a variety of movement sizes and scales, and that can help explain to an audience the feeling. Or don't forget, if you've chose to make a narrative dance, which is a dance with a story, it might help to explain your character. And it could also match the dynamics, which is the quality of the music. So for example, if you've chosen to make a contemporary dance and it might be about a serious or sad issue and your character's feeling a little low, you might make quite small, gentle movements on that scale. However, if you think of something like Hairspray that we did weeks ago, that was huge in terms of the energy and the dynamics of the music. So we had lots of really big shapes in that routine. So now it's your turn to experiment with size. Can you make a large movement with your whole body? And that can be a still shape or it can continue to move, but make it large. All right, moving on. Can you make a tiny movement at a low level? So keep low to the ground and make a tiny movement. Okay. Can you make a huge movement using only the arms? Moving on. Can you do, this is 3 instructions this time, a small movement using only your elbow at a high level? Lovely work, team. So as you can see from our last instruction there, we can mix it all up and you don't have to just think about levels or just think about shape or just think about scale, which I put size there, sorry. This was the lower primary table. You can combine them all together and keep mixing that up to make the dance really interesting for the audience. So as a little experiment now, I'd like you to choose a word from each column in the table. So first you will need to pick a level that you're going to move at, whether it be low, medium or high. Once you've chose your level, move on to shape. Is that level going to have a straight move, a curved move, angular, twisted or symmetrical? Choose one of those. And then when you've got both of those, decide which scale that movement is going to be at. Tiny, small, medium, large or huge. And once you've chose all 3 words, one from each column, find some space and create that movement. Okay. So today's task is, if you haven't already guessed, you will need to practice the dance you've made so far, which should now be 32 counts and include levels. You need to add 16 more counts today. Really consider the shapes and the scale involved in your movement and how they may look to an audience. So now that we've learned these words, really start to push with what that might look like. How can we really experiment and challenge ourselves to create some interesting movement? And of course, to have fun doing it. All right, get to work, guys. Get those 60 more counts made and good luck.